frighteningly powerful.
Nervous, really nervous.
Unleashing a fury of rain, wind, and surging water.
Michael makes landfall, the first Category 4 hurricane ever to come ashore in the Panhandle.
Irma converted me. I don't stay for hurricanes no more.
And felt right here in Southwest Florida.
Really crazy and rough.
Its destructive trek not done yet.
And while the powerful storm is hundreds of miles away, we're feeling the effects here in Southwest Florida. We have crews up and down the coast tonight, keeping an eye on flooding from storm surge, and we have a crew in the direct path of the storm right now. Reporter Kelsey Kushner in Tallahassee. But we begin our team coverage with Chief Meteorologist Jim Farrell, who just got an update from the Hurricane Center. Jim.
Thank you, Chris. As quickly as Michael moved into Florida, it is moving out of Florida now. You can see the eye feature. It is tracking through the state right now, through the Panhandle, after becoming a landfalling Category 4 hurricane earlier today at around approximately 1:30. We've had some clouds, not much rain. It's been windy in Southwest Florida, but here's where the strongest wind remains. This is now weaker as a Category 3 rather than a 4, but it is still a major hurricane over land, 125-mile-an-hour wind. Next up, it's Georgia, mid-Georgia early in the morning. Then by the afternoon tomorrow, it could be as far northeast as North Carolina as a tropical storm. They are still dealing with a lot of wind in the Panhandle and into parts of Georgia. There's Dothan at 37-mile-per-hour wind. And you see Valdosta at 28. Pensacola is 24 right now. These are the wind gusts. Tallahassee, 55-mile-an-hour gust. Cross City to Valdosta in the low to mid-30s. So it's still an extremely windy day there. For Southwest Florida, here are our wind speeds, and it's not as windy as it was yesterday in spots, but at least at this hour, we still have some mid-teens to high teens across the area, with the wind gusting into the 25-plus-mile-per-hour range in a few spots. Stays breezy until sunset. The wind dies down tonight. There's some minor coastal flooding occurring now during high tide, but even that improves as we work our way through the rest of the afternoon and evening. I'll have details for you coming up.
All right, thank you, Jim. A whipping wind from Hurricane Michael is causing a mess in the Panhandle. This is video from Panama City Beach. You can hardly see it all, and take a look at those palm trees just whipping around. And we are getting our first look at some of the damage that is left behind. This is from Mexico Beach. This is just heartbreaking. This is from a multi-story building on the balcony, but look at all that water all the way up to the roofs of some homes, and look at all the debris floating in the water there, the damage to those homes. Millions of people are in the hurricane's path, including our own Kelsey Kushner. She's live in Tallahassee right now. And Kelsey, tell us what you're experiencing.
Well, the rain is starting to ease up a little bit. It was pouring just a few minutes ago. Now it's not so much. It's that wind that we're really starting to feel. We're already starting to see some damage of trees that are falling down. And of course, it's that wind that a lot of people here in Tallahassee are worried about, because that wind means that they might be losing power for a couple of days now. Now, I'm told that over 6,700 people are actually staying in shelters here. But first, we are seeing some incredible images along the Gulf Coast. Now, take a look at Panama City Beach. The powerful winds knocked down a building under construction in Panama City Beach. You can see it collapse. The rough surf is beating up the shoreline there. Now here's another view of Panama City Beach. Just look at the rough water pulling debris out to the beach. Very dangerous day out there. Now, more dramatic video shows Hurricane Michael is stirring up St. Andrews Bay along Panama City. This video was taken from a merchant marine vessel. The huge waves are enough to make just about anyone sick out there. Now, and back here in Tallahassee, we're starting to see some trees falling down. Places are boarded up. They're ready for impact. As for power, Tallahassee has lost over 40,000 outages. It's going up by the minute, and people that we spoke with say that they woke up this morning very anxious about the outcome of this hurricane.
I was honestly mind blown, because everyone kind of like passed it off being like, oh, it's just going to be a Category 3, like we'll be fine, that's okay. It'll be like Cat 1 by the time it gets here, but there was definitely like that sinking feeling in my stomach, where I have never been anywhere close to this kind of weather before.
Now, we do see a couple people that are out here on the road. As of right now, there is no curfew in place, but I am in constant contact with the mayor's office. He says that if these winds kick up anymore, they might have to shut down the roads here in Tallahassee. Live in Tallahassee, Kelsey Krishner, Wink News Now.
Kelsey, thank you for that. Well, the storm is hundreds of miles from here. There are some conditions that we're dealing with here in Southwest Florida. This is one of them. Video from Plantation Island yesterday, which is south of Marco Island. A woman's yard flooded by the storm surge. Wake News reporter Channing Frampton live in Everglades City. Now, Channing, it's high tide there. Water problems are not unique there. So what's going on?
Yeah, the water's about 2 to 3 feet above where it normally would be with this high tide. We're at a boat ramp in Everglades City where the water is spilling out of the back channel here and into this parking lot. And just a few miles down the road at Plantation Island, neighbors are dealing with the high water. They dealt with it yesterday. They're dealing with it again today in their streets, in their yards, in their driveways. I talked with one woman who says the flooding they're seeing is nothing compared to Hurricane Irma's storm surge.
We have 52 inches of water, as near as I can tell from Irma. This is just a little wind. The water keeps washing in and out. It's just something that we put up with to live here.
And her advice to people who are dealing with this high water: don't try to drive through it with your car, because this salt water could do some serious damage to the undercarriage of your vehicle. Coming up on Wink News at 6, we'll head a few miles down the road to Chokoloskee Island, where they're also dealing with the high water. Live in Everglades City, Channing Frampton, Wink News Now.
Channing, thank you. Hurricane Michael still pounding the northern Gulf Coast. Live pictures from Panama City right now. Honestly, better pictures than we saw a little while ago, so this is some progress. Wink News has more extensive team coverage of Michael's effects here in Southwest Florida, and we'll be live again in Panama City. Still ahead.
The frantic search for a killer is underway. The person who sprayed bullets at the bell tower shops is still on the loose. Shoppers scattered and diners ran for their lives as dozens of Lee County deputies swarmed the scene last night. A former Marine didn't run away. He ran toward the danger.
By the second, third round, I could kind of tell. You could hear the rounds skimming through the air. The first instinct was definitely to, let's find the active shooter.
A family is reeling today after 2 of their loved ones died. Kevin Robinson and his son, Javarcia Riggins, were both gunned down. Wake News brought you this breaking story last night. Reporters Taylor Bisacki and Taylor Petrus are sharing the stories of the victims and the Good Samaritans who tried to save them. We begin our team coverage with Taylor Petrus.
Well, Lois, the crime scene tape is down, but you can still see some of the destruction left behind from last night's shooting. Take a look. Several windows on this empty building across the street from the Bell Tower Shops parking lot are shattered from bullets. Now, I talked to one man who says he heard the gunfire and he knew he had to step in. Scott Dingus celebrated his birthday at Bell Tower Shops, but gunfire cut short a fun night for him and others.
I did start counting rounds at a certain point, and probably 30, 40 rounds at least would be safe to say that were probably fired.
While others ran away.
For the most part, everyone scattered pretty quick after they heard gunfire. I know a lot of the establishments cleared everybody out.
The former Marine ran to help.
My mom's not happy.
He found a man and a woman on the ground with gunshots.
There was another guy there calling 911. Me and him worked on them. We had a bartender from TGI Fridays bring us some towels to help with compression. And we just tried to do the best we could until EMS showed up.
What the sheriff's office is calling a targeted incident killed 2 men and sent 2 others to the hospital. But still no information on suspects. Looking back, Dingus says what happened last night is unlike anything he would have ever expected.
But yeah, it's just not something you see at Bell Tower. I walk through there with my kid all the time.
The sheriff's office isn't releasing any information on a possible suspect. Crime Stoppers wants to talk with you if you were here at Bell Tower Shops last night. Now, my colleague, Wink News reporter Taylor Bisacki, was here last night as the scene unfolded. And Taylor, today you're learning more about the 2 men who lost their lives last night.
Yeah, Taylor, it was a stepson and stepfather. They're both here celebrating a birthday dinner at TGI Fridays when they're both gunned down in the parking lot right outside the restaurant. Now, as you can see, people fill this parking lot now in cars, but earlier, crime scene tape, deputies, and bullet casings covered this area. Those victims are 22-year-old Javarcia Riggins and his stepdad, 56-year-old Kevin Robinson. Robinson's friends and family are horrified by the news. Friends say he was outgoing, friendly, and always put a smile on your face, especially when working with the Fort Myers Little League where he worked. They can't believe he got caught in the crossfire.
I went to my knees. I was just sick to my stomach. I just could not even believe somebody that's as friendly as he is to everybody he meets could suffer that kind of heinous act like that.
Teddy Bear, just a happy guy.
Now, those coworkers we just heard from worked with Robinson for nearly 20 years. They say he was a big reason that visitors came back to the ball field. Live in South Fort Myers, Taylor Basaki, Wink News Now.
All right, thank you very much, Taylor. And Wink News posted all of our coverage on the Bell Tower shooting on the Wink News app.
Breaking now at 5, an arrest in a deputy-involved shooting from 4 months ago. Investigators say Jose Mejia was driving erratically and in the direction of a deputy and homeowners along Royal Palm Park Road in Lee County. Then the deputy was forced to shoot at Mejia to stop him. Mejia faces an aggravated assault on law enforcement officer charge. Also breaking right now, we just learned what led investigators to a body inside this Naples Park home. They say they received a call that there was a terrible odor coming from the home along 102nd Avenue North yesterday. People who were working on the home left Monday night, came back the next day and found a man's body. Investigators say the man's death is suspicious. We're working to find out the circumstances surrounding that. More breaking news. Health advisories in effect for several Collier County beaches as we speak. Crews found bacteria in the water at Wiggins Pass, the Naples Pier, Residence Beach, South Marco Beach, Park Shore, Barefoot Beach, Vanderbilt Beach, and Seagate Beach. We'll let you know when it's safe to go back in the water.
Wink News, the Weather Authority.
As still Category 3 Major Hurricane Michael moves through the Florida Panhandle, our weather will start to return to a more normal pattern. Look for less wind and your weekend weather forecast in just a few minutes.
As Hurricane Michael pummels the northern Gulf Coast, our islands here in Southwest Florida are also feeling some effects.
We got about 3 or 4 feet worth of sand that washed up against our buildings.
Storm surge flooding is worrying some homeowners and visitors. A few even evacuated. We're live on Sanibel after the break.
Palm trees swaying and the surf still rough. Live picture from Sanibel right now. This is more surf than you'd usually see in the Gulf this time of day. Sun glistening on the water, though. That storm up north has some people here worried about storm surge. Check out all the sand at the cottages near Blind Pass along Sanibel. A lot of the sand went several feet up to the buildings. Some of it went right back out. Wake News anchor Brittany McDonald live on Sanibel right now. Some people are enjoying the beach, but others got evacuated.
Yeah, that's right, Chris. Some people staying at these cottages had to leave before the water came rushing in. Just take a look. About 3 feet of sand is now piled up against this one. And to give you some perspective, I'm standing on what should be the bench of this picnic table. The waves were crashing all around Sanibel today. We started at the Lighthouse Beach where people were out enjoying this weather, but closer to Captiva is where the cottages were really damaged. The operators said that they've never seen anything like this here before, not even during Irma, and they definitely weren't expecting it.
Beach was finally clear, water's perfectly clear, no smell, no fish, and now we have this. So we're going to do everything we can to clean this up as fast as we can.
My friend is shelling and looking for shells, and I just love this. We don't have this in Minnesota.
Back here live now, you can see that there are two sides to this story. Some people just enjoying all of this weather here today, but businesses like this one are taking yet another hit. They have a lot of work on their hands. I'm told that cleanup crews will be out here tomorrow starting to try to get this back to normal. I'm live on Sanibel. Brittany McDonald, Wink News Now.
All right, thank you, Brittany. Helping the Panhandle, Greater Naples Fire and Collier County are sending all the resources they can to help with rescue efforts after Hurricane Michael. They plan on sending 5 fire engines with 4 firefighters on each, a strike team leader, and a rescue team. Greater Naples Fire Chief Kingman Schultz says it's their turn to lend a helping hand.
We had a hurricane just a year ago, and everybody here locally saw fire apparatus and other emergency responders from all over the state that were here. This is our time to give back.
The teams are driving up and staying the night in Ocala. In the morning, they will receive their orders and help where they are needed. Also preparing to send help, the Harry Chapin Food Bank. They've been helping the families affected by the water quality crisis right here in Southwest Florida, and now they're taking a box truck full of food to the Panhandle for those impacted by Hurricane Michael. They plan to travel Thursday or Friday to help in the aftermath of the storm.
Hurricane Michael now in the record books as the strongest most powerful hurricane to hit any part of the United States coastline since 1992. You remember which hurricane was in 1992? That was Hurricane Andrew. Andrew was a Category 5. This came ashore as a Category 4, and you can see clearly on the high-resolution satellite imagery from GO-16 that it is leaving Florida now and moving into southwestern Georgia. At least the center of circulation is moving into southwestern Georgia. There's still a lot of wind in Florida and some rain because this is still a moderately large system, and as it tracks off toward the northeast, our conditions in the Gulf Coast to the north and around southwest Florida will start to get back to a more normal pattern. Here's the latest from the Hurricane Center. Michael is a Category 3, so it's down one category since landfall. 125-mile-an-hour wind. As I mentioned, it'll be tracking through southwest Georgia, mid-Georgia, then South Carolina, North Carolina. It's going to continue to move quickly, so this is not going to be a lingering system. Reviewing the current wind speeds and gusts. These are the sustained winds. You've got Tallahassee at 31, 37 Dothan, Alabama. There's Valdosta, Georgia at 28. And you can see the wind gusts. Tallahassee, 55-mile-an-hour gust in the last hour. In southwest Florida, it's been a breezy, gusty day, but the wind will die down after sunset. Right now, still southwest at 18 at Punta Gorda, where the wind is gusting to 26 miles per hour, 23 Naples, 24 Fort Myers, and we had more of a southerly wind flow today, so we did have some water running up along the coastline and some minor coastal flooding. Meantime, here are the wind speeds going forward. Let's see how it improves as we work our way through the early morning hours tomorrow. We'll be waking up to 10 to maybe 15-mile-an-hour wind out of the south and southwest on what will be a very humid, warm morning. And then tomorrow afternoon, it's not windy at all. Less than 10 miles per hour from time to time across most of the area. Here's the Doppler radar perspective, and we'll let this go back to prior to landfall. There's landfall near Mexico Beach, Florida at about 1:30 this afternoon. Still a lot of rain here, but most of the rain will follow the hurricane into Georgia this evening and overnight tonight. Now, there is a nearby feeder band, and there's some rain lined up offshore. This will get closer to the coast through the evening hours, and there is a chance for some rain to be indicated here by Charlotte and maybe even northwestern Lee County in the next few hours. There's not much else happening out offshore, but we will be prone to seeing a couple of showers come in not only this evening but overnight tonight and during the day tomorrow. Here's how tomorrow looks. 7 a.m. It's mainly dry. Can't promise completely dry weather. Still a lot of tropical moisture and isolated rain possible in the morning. And then as we get into the afternoon and evening, there will be a scattering of some rain. So there's Michael, Category 3. Here's Leslie, back to Category 1 status. And here's a tropical storm, Nadine. Now, don't worry about Nadine. It's far away, 65-mile-an-hour wind, and it looks like it'll enter a pretty hostile environment. It is not expected to be around past Friday, so that should dissipate out over the Atlantic and not be an issue for southwest Florida. Here are the model plots, and again, while this does track to the west-northwest, it is not expected to remain a viable system into the weekend. So for southwest Florida, this is what it's going to look like this early evening before sunset. Mostly cloudy sky. Breezy to still gusty in the area, and it will be breezy at times tomorrow, but not as windy or as breezy as it was today. As I mentioned earlier, here we go with the wind gusts for the day. Tomorrow, about 15 miles per hour. Isolated rain on Friday, but by the weekend, look at that. Mostly sunny, less humid, 89 degrees. Sunday, partly cloudy, 90, and mainly dry.
All right, Jim, thank you. We've been showing you the rough surf up and down the Gulf Coast.
We have live pictures now from Fort Myers Beach where you can see water starting to calm down a little bit. There was a lot rougher surf earlier, but maybe things are starting to improve a little bit.
Looks more normal.
Yes.
Also, first, live along Minnesota Key as homeowners wonder if the seawalls there to protect their homes from the rough seas will hold up. We'll find out after the break.
A place that's no stranger to rough waves is Minnesota Key. Check out this video. Very choppy conditions there. You see all the people are prepared with their sandbags. The properties there are protected now by a new seawall after it was damaged in previous storms. Wake News reporter Christy Gross is live along the beach there. And Christy, are people just sitting back relaxed, or are they a little concerned here tonight?
Lois, people say they do have one concern, and that's beach erosion. Now, earlier today, we used a wind gauge to find out just how strong the winds were gusting out here, and it got up to about 25 miles per hour, and that's enough to cause those damaging and pounding waves. Now, a couple of years ago, after Tropical Storm Colin, several properties along the coast were in danger of sliding off a cliff and into the Gulf. Since then, this brand new seawall and walkway were installed to protect the properties from further beach erosion. But as you can see, the high tide and winds are pushing waves, crashing up over the top of that seawall and bringing in so much sand it covered the last 3 or 4 steps of a staircase that was leading down to the beach. Manasota Key neighbors say beach erosion is always a concern whenever conditions are this rough.
And I mean, just by looking at it, I mean, this is definitely going to cause some degree of beach erosion. I don't think it'll be drastic, but there will be some, especially to the folks that live, you know, directly on the coast.
Now, Charlotte and Sarasota counties are working together on a multi-million-dollar beach restoration plan that would protect the beaches from further beach erosion. Live in Inglewood Beach, Christy Gross, Wink News Now.
Starting to look a little better now as Hurricane Michael starts to pull out of the panhandle.
This one is just one that just really we're not going to take a chance on.
Wink News has more extensive team coverage. Chief Meteorologist Jim Farrow is looking at storm surge, and we're right in the path of the storm for you after the break.
Hurricane Michael is creating an absolute mess along the northern Gulf Coast. It made landfall earlier this afternoon along the Panhandle. And just look at the vicious waves that were crashing along the pier in Panama City Beach. Storm surge is a big concern for people along the Gulf Coast right now. Wake News has more extensive team coverage at 5:30. Reporter Hillary Lane is in the middle of the storm in Panama City Beach. And Kristen Holmes is looking at how the storm could impact the midterm election. But we begin with Chief Meteorologist Jim Farrow. Jim.
Where were you at 1:30 today? In the afternoon, it was 1:30. That's when landfall occurred at Mexico Beach. You can see the eye moving away from the landfall location now into southwestern Georgia. It's still a major hurricane, even though it's over land. Category 3, 125-mile-an-hour wind, but it's not going to hang around. This one moves quickly through Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, and then out over the Atlantic before the weekend. Doppler radar still showing quite a bit of rain with this system, but even the rain will start to let up, already has around Apalachicola. The rain will follow the hurricane, of course. There will be a few bands on the eastern semicircle. And in southwest Florida, we've got a little bit of broken rain here from Michael's influence. So we've got a few showers that are already in Sarasota County. I do expect some rain in Charlotte and Lee through the evening. Could be after sunset, but we'll be tracking those for you. And I'll tell you what to expect into the weekend coming up.
All right, Jim, thank you. Millions of people are or have been in the path of the storm, but the winds are starting to die down in Panama City Beach. This is a live picture from there right now. Wake News complete team coverage continues at 5:30 with reporter Hillary Lane in Panama City Beach. It looks much better for you there. It has to be better than it was a couple hours ago.
It is so much better. It's literally like night and day. This is the calm after the storm. The storm rolled through here earlier this afternoon, and it caused quite a bit of damage. Debris was flying and roads are flooded. Michael crashed ashore as one of the most powerful storms to ever hit the U.S. mainland, just shy of a Category 5 hurricane. 155-mile-per-hour winds lashed at the coast, ripped apart structures, and sent debris flying at a hotel in Panama City. Forecasters say Michael will dump more than a foot of rain and usher in a 14-foot storm surge in some areas.
When that storm surge comes in, you have no control of it. There's so much pressure, and it pushes everything in, and then it sucks everything out.
Here in Panama City Beach, the wind and rain have been brutal all day. At points, it's hard to stand up straight as the wind whizzes by. For some people who didn't evacuate, panic set in.
I might not be here tomorrow, man. That's it. I really don't want to cry on your camera, but this is what we got to deal with.
FEMA Administrator Brock Long updated President Trump on the storm in the Oval Office. He says the hurricane's eye, shown here from the International Space Station, is large and dangerous.
Some people may say it's similar to an EF3 tornado making landfall.
Michael is expected to remain powerful as a Category 1 or 2 hurricane as it passes through Georgia. Forecasters say it is unlike any storm ever seen before.
This storm is so intense that the governor here says that emergency personnel would not go out and rescue people because it would put their lives in danger. In Panama City Beach, Hillary Lane, Lois, back over to you.
Oh, we hope the best for all the people there. Thank you, Hillary. Florida is one of the most important states of the midterm map. We have video from Watersound Beach where Hurricane Michael made landfall, and campaign events are canceled as candidates and voters prepare for what we know is catastrophic damage. Wink News reporter Kristen Holmes continues our Weather Authority team coverage from Washington, D.C. And Kristen, how could this impact voters in 4 weeks?
Well, Lois, this is clearly Mother Nature's October surprise. We're getting used to things like this just before the midterm, and this could really affect the election in 2 ways. One is voter enthusiasm and momentum. Keep this in mind. A lot of voters have already gotten their mail-in ballots. They just haven't submitted them yet. So are they still going to have the momentum, the energy to send those in after the storm, or are they going to be distracted? Is the storm going to take their enthusiasm away before heading to the polls? The other way is storm management and storm response. A lot of these politicians, they're going to be judged on how well or how poorly they handled this storm.
As Hurricane Michael slams Florida, a make-or-break moment for politicians. The state is home to some of the most important races in the country, whose outcome could determine the balance of power in Washington. With just weeks until November's critical midterms, a neck-and-neck Senate battle on hold.
This is a horrible, horrible storm.
Governor Scott declaring a state of emergency. His opponent, Senator Bill Nelson, meeting with emergency managers.
This is deadly serious.
And Democratic gubernatorial nominee and Tallahassee Mayor Andrew Gillum returning home to the Panhandle to ride out the storm.
We can rebuild homes. We can rebuild buildings and street signs and light poles. What we cannot do is we can't replace a lost life.
In a state where voters have already started casting ballots, candidates know they're being watched closely, especially Scott and Gillum, who will be judged on their response as state leaders and their ability to cross party lines and work together in the aftermath. A positive storm response could propel them in the polls. In 2012, Hurricane Sandy jolting Governor Chris Christie's popularity in New Jersey. But a perceived botched response like President Bush's during Katrina could cause a disastrous downfall.
And of course, Florida is not the only state that is suffering from this storm leading to some kind of role in the midterms. Just last month, we saw Hurricane Florence devastate areas of the Carolinas, something we're watching there closely as well. Chris?
All right, a lot to think about. Kristen, thank you for that. And more people are still in the path of the hurricane as we speak. It's sped through the Panhandle, but then it's moving into the Atlanta area. And as Jim mentioned, the Carolinas. Michael grew quickly in the Gulf. Governor Rick Scott says many people made the decision not to evacuate early. 54 shelters are holding people across the Panhandle right now in the Big Bend area, housing nearly 6,000 people. Power crews are waiting for the storm to pass in order to get the power back on. Here's a view you don't normally get to see either. These are pictures from space of Hurricane Michael. These come straight from the International Space Station. The pictures were taken yesterday as the storm pushed through the Gulf.
President Trump is keeping an eye on the storm. His FEMA chief says their main mission is to make sure everyone is safe.
His message to me is protect people. Do what you can to help people. We can bring the full firepower of the federal government down. So we're ready to go, and he continues to remain very engaged.
The president approved a pre-disaster emergency for the state of Florida that frees up resources for response after the storm.
Wink News, the Weather Authority.
Well, as you know, it's been a windy day, but a mainly dry day. I am featuring a couple of light to moderate rain areas in southwest Florida. I'll tell you what to expect going into the weekend as well, coming up.
And we've been showing you some of the effects of Hurricane Michael here, but it's not stopping people from visiting the beach.
It's a little exciting, but also a little scary.
Visitors and homeowners are dealing with the rough surf. All new ahead at 5:30.
And breaking now, Wall Street tanks. The Dow Jones lost more than 800 points today, the worst day since February. Amazon and other tech stocks led the massive sell-off, and investors are worried about higher interest rates. Southwest Florida's news leader will be right back.
Some scary moments for passengers aboard this plane. They were headed from here to New Jersey when they heard a loud boom and then had to turn around and land back at RSW. Wink News anchor Amanda Hall shares some of their stories, new at 5:30.
Yeah, pretty scary. We just learned the United Airlines flight from Fort Myers to Newark forced to turn around because of a mechanical issue. 79 passengers and 5 crew members were on board when it made that emergency landing at RSW this afternoon. Investigators say the pilot reported an engine problem and immediately turned around. You can see what it did in this flight tracker picture. The green line shows the loop the plane made to get back to the airport. Passengers say they were only 5 to 10 minutes into the flight getting the safety instructions when they knew something was wrong.
We were on the plane, there was a loud bang, and a few seconds later the pilot came on and he said we had lost an engine, but the plane could fly on one engine. We were going to turn around and come back to Fort Myers. We were going to make an emergency landing.
It was a noise that I've never heard, and the plane shook like crazy. And allegedly it jammed, and then fire extinguishers went off.
United released a statement apologizing to customers for the inconvenience. They are working to get them to Newark as quickly as possible. Lois?
All right, thank you, Amanda. A father is in the hospital clinging to life. The Fort Myers Police Department responded to a report of shots fired and one man injured on Thomas Street. The mother of the victim spoke with Wink News as she waited outside Lee Memorial Hospital after he went into surgery this morning.
Nice, and as a mother should not have to go through this. This is crazy. We were trying to find out, was my son okay or if he was deceased.
The family said he is in critical condition right now. Police say this shooting is still under investigation, but there is no current threat to the community. A highly anticipated solution to the water quality crisis took an important step forward today. Just hours ago, the Senate passed the Water Resources Development Bill. The legislation authorizes construction of a $1.4 billion reservoir in the mostly unpopulated Everglades agricultural area. It would store and clean about 240,000 acre-feet of water at a time before sending it south. The bill already passed the House, so it will now head to the president for his signature. He is expected to sign it. Water management officials say it will take up to 10 years to build. Medical bills can deeply affect your credit, but there's a way to fix the problem before it gets out of hand. Wink News investigates ahead at 5:30.
Let's go back live now to Fort Myers Beach and check on the conditions. You can see still some rough waves, especially for our area. There's still some wind there. 2 boaters were just rescued off our coast after sending a Mayday call to the Coast Guard. Take a listen.
Mayday, mayday, mayday. This is the sailing vessel, old school position, 26 minutes.
Coast Guard jumped into action and rescued the 2 off their sailboat. And while these waves look choppy a little bit, especially for us, visitors say they're still enjoying their time.
And we're trying to see if maybe we can swim today. It's looking kind of rough, though.
Yeah, that's probably not a good idea. Wink News reporter Gina Tomlinson spent the day at the beach and found some people very intrigued by this storm.
In the hotel, they informed us that we have to get away before 11 o'clock.
Hurricane Michael forced Ellie Buntol to evacuate. Dangerous storm conditions changed her vacation plans in Tallahassee to Fort Myers Beach, her very first time here.
Very exciting, of course, because we never have an hurricane in a hurricane in the Netherlands. So it's very nice.
People are playing in the waves and taking advantage of stronger winds Hurricane Michael is bringing to Fort Myers Beach.
It's fun to be in Florida, so it's hot here. It's kind of chilly back home.
Some are here on vacation.
We didn't even know it was coming now. We just flew in Sunday night.
The higher tide drawing in beachgoers. Some using the water as a front row seat to watch the storm.
We came to the beach to check it out and see the cool waves.
And while some are out here enjoying the beach, others choosing our local restaurants to watch the storm.
Went over and had a drink at Pete's Timeout and taking in the sights.
Water sport businesses are even selling rental chairs.
It's a little exciting, but also a little scary.
Some beachgoers like Buntol, you could even say the winds brought in.
We are happy that we are very safe now.
On Fort Myers Beach, I'm Gina Tomlinson, Wink News Now.
All right, Gina, thanks. We have Jim Farrell back here now. We know it's pulling out up north toward the Panhandle, but as far as any more flooding, we have one more high tide to go through. Are we kind of through what's going to be the worst of the storm surge?
Yeah, we're done.
Good.
I mean, the high tide cycle is now. The wind has died down, and we are on the road to getting back to a normal pattern here and in the Florida Panhandle. Because look at this. This is a fast-moving hurricane. There's the center of circulation already in southwest Georgia. Came ashore at 1:30 today at Mexico Beach, and it's been moving steadily ever since. It is still a Category 3 hurricane as of 5 o'clock, 125-mile-an-hour wind, moving to the north-northeast at 16 miles per hour. But because it's going to move so quickly, the wind speed will drop off quickly, and the rain will end as well over the Florida Panhandle. Our wind will react as Michael gets farther away, and right now we've got the wind out of the south near 18 to 20 miles per hour. As we work our way through the evening and overnight, the wind drops off, especially after sunset. So tomorrow morning, 10 miles per hour, if that, over most of the area. It's going to be a warm, humid morning. Low temperatures will be in the low 80s to start the day. As far as the wind for the afternoon goes, it's still pretty light, southwesterly at 5 to 10 to 15 in spots. But all in all, the windiest weather is long gone for southwest Florida. Doppler radar will show you where the rain is. You can see the center of circulation as well coming ashore. And the rain is now letting up over the Panhandle by Apalachicola. So the heavy rain is going to decrease there as well this evening. Doppler radar showing some rain locally coming in this broken band in association with Michael. And most of this is in Sarasota County, but I think some of this has a chance to work its way into the coast of Charlotte and Lee County this evening, so we'll be watching for that. But these are very fast-moving showers. Accumulation will not be much at all. Spotty rain now near Sanibel, Cape Coral, and let's see here, central Charlotte County. Not much to report on radar at the moment over land. Future Track says, hey, there's still a chance for a couple of showers, however, overnight tonight. Here's 2 a.m. So we're going to get a little whip of the tail here as Michael gets farther away. We still have a lot of tropical moisture over southwest Florida. And even in the morning, there could be some rain to get you started there early in the day for the early morning commute. Red tide update. Hey, the new update today is indicating 1 dot. And it is yellow. That is a low-level concentration along the Charlotte County coast. The most recent reports are indicating improvement, and we expect that that will continue, especially in the wake of all the turbulence that was created by Michael. Here's your Wink News Skycam of Charlotte Harbor there in the distance. There's Fisherman's Village in the foreground. Everything looks pretty close to an average day today. It is cloudy. The wind is not that strong. Same for Estero Bay. There's Fort Myers Beach in the distance under mostly cloudy sky right now. If you have any plans that take you outside this evening, it's going to be cloudy. There could be an isolated, fast-moving shower, breezy at times, but not as windy as it's been, and temperatures will stay in the 80s for the next few hours. Going forward into tomorrow, breezy at times, 87 degrees, but not as windy as it was today. Friday, isolated rain, 89 degrees, the high temperature. Future Track is showing some clouds on Friday and some rain scattered about, or at least isolated over the southern half of our viewing area. By the weekend, Saturday looks mostly sunny and 89 degrees. Sunday looks like a warm day at 90 degrees with isolated afternoon rain possible into Monday.
All right, thank you very much, Jim. A deadly shooting breaks up a family birthday party. Tonight at 6, team coverage on the latest developments. Plus, we learn more about the father and stepson who were killed. A man accused of throwing a woman to the ground and trying to sexually assault her is on the run. Southwest Florida Crime Stoppers says this happened Monday night along Barbie Lane and Tucker Lane in North Fort Myers. The victim got away and ran for help. She tells investigators her attacker was wearing a dark hooded sweatshirt, dark pants, cowboy boots, and riding a black bicycle. Time to check your bank account. Punta Gorda police say they found gas skimmers at a gas station. It happened at the mobile Circle K gas station off US 41. They found 2 of them. Punta Gorda put together a skimmer ordinance to help prevent this type of fraud. All gas stations must implement a secondary lock on all gas pumps. This can prevent people from putting skimmers into the pumps.
A woman's facing charges accused of passing around fake money around Charlotte County. Investigators say Sabrina Fisher had a purse inside a car they pulled over having more than $1,500 in counterfeit money in it. They say she tried to use the money at an Arby's, a Goodwill, and a tire shop. Big news for Fort Myers. U.S. News ranked it the second best place to retire, up from number 15. Sarasota is now number 3. U.S. News based the rankings on several factors like housing affordability, desirability, retiree taxes, and a happiness index. Lancaster, Pennsylvania took the top spot.
Of course, most people are happier in the winter, not on days when we're being hit by a hurricane, right?
Well, yes, but then, that might be why they're in Lancaster now, but then they'll be happy here for
there's a reason why we're here,
rest
right?
of the year. Yeah.
Struggling with unpaid medical bills.
The one thing you can do now before they crush your credit. All new after the break. More than a quarter of Americans with health insurance have received a surprise medical bill. Charges can have big consequences since medical bills can drag down your credit score. Wink News investigative reporter Allison Gormley shares some important information to help you protect your finances.
A 10-day hospital stay for a heart condition in 2016 left Bill Townsend with medical bills topping $130,000. The 59-year-old comic book store owner thought his insurance would cover most of it. But after months of trying to navigate the $76,000 between what his insurance would pay and what the hospital billed him, he was turned over to a collections agency, the first step to blowing up his credit.
Something I really don't like is uncertainty, and it was living with it 24/7, the idea that I don't know how this is going to end. Am I going to lose my business? Am I going to lose my house?
Medical debt can do major damage to your finances if you leave it unresolved.
New rules are trying to help. The 3 big credit agencies, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion, are now required to wait 180 days before putting an unpaid medical bill on your credit report. So if you're disputing a claim, let the hospital or doctor's office know you need more time to sort things out. And if the insurance company ultimately pays a bill, it has to be taken off your credit report.
And if the bad debt doesn't disappear, you're going to have to follow up with your healthcare provider to get proof of payment, and you might have to insist that the debt is removed from your credit report.
Bill Townsend ultimately hired a medical billing advocate to help him resolve his bill. It wasn't cheap, but it saved his sanity.
It's just like a great weight had been lifted off.
I'm investigative reporter Allison Gormley, Wink News Now.
Consumer Reports cautions against putting down potentially high interest rate credit cards to pay your medical bills. Many healthcare providers offer installment plans to help you make the payments with little or no interest.
Wink News is the Weather Authority. In 90 seconds, we have team coverage on the latest developments of Hurricane Michael and the damage left behind.